Hello, real clinicians. This is Nasseh coming to you direct from a beach right here in Bermuda at the Elbow Beach Resort and Hotel in Bermuda. And it's a beautiful evening here. You can hear all these little insect noises on the background. I did a little video earlier on as I was flying in about the conspiracies in endodontics and obviously the Bermuda Triangle and all those things tying it together. And when I arrived, I also looked up online to read a little bit more about Weston Price, and I came across a little website that was talking about the endodontic therapy and how it doesn't work, and I ran into a case that they were demonstrating of how endodontic therapy does not work. And I figured this would be a perfect example to go through in this little short vlog here by the beach to tell you about the misinformation that is being propagated about why root canals do not work. So let's talk about that. Okay, our journey brings us to this website, Humans Are Free. I guess that's a pretty interesting title, and it's eye-catching. As you can see right off the front page of this particular article, how here's how root canals can affect your health. You can see that we have a number of different afflictions and all kinds of issues being advertised and all kinds of conspiracy theories, including this one here to the left as to why was this controversial video banned by a major news network. So you can see lots of clickbait here. Build a container home here on the lower right, and then again pictures of Obama, all kinds of different conspiracies. Will not finish his second term. Obama and church leaders prayed you'd never see this. Anyway, but most importantly, let's get to this particular molar case. What exactly are you getting for your money is the title here. And then goes on to say here at the bottom about the Mayo Clinic and Weston Price and all these things. And they're using this particular example of a failed root canal to demonstrate that root canals don't work. Of course, for an average patient who doesn't understand what they're looking at, they're all seeing all this black here around the root, indicating that there is still infection going on in this tooth, and there is root canal filling that appears to be fairly dense and to the end of the root, but there is infection here. As you can see, there's focal involvement as well. But with someone who has seen, thousands and thousands of teeth radiographically, you as the dentist are very quickly able to tell that this is a tooth with a previous root canal and a crown, and you have cervical decay, specifically here in this distal area. So all of this, you can see the radiolucency and the rarefaction here around the post that's been placed in the distal area, and the focal lesion is related to the carious lesion that has worked around this crown. So this here is not a case of a root canal failing, but rather a tooth that was probably either improperly restored, may have had an open margin, maybe all the caries were not fully removed before the final restoration was placed, or just basically a situation in which an open margin caused the decay to happen afterwards, or a patient had dry mouth, a whole bunch of different reasons. Either way, the cause of this failure is not the root canal therapy, it is the decay that you can see up on top here. And of course, we all know, as people with experience in root canal therapy, is that any root canal therapy tooth, if it's not restored or restored properly and you have coronal decay, that could cause reinfection of the tooth. So here is not a situation in which a root canal failed, but a situation in which a root canal that was done was recontaminated due to poor restoration, or for whatever reason the patient ended up having decay up on top that recontaminated the root canal. So nothing to do with the root canal itself. This root canal apparently appears to be well instrumented, apex has been reached, but then again you have a post here, and as we know, posts are just not a very good thing for teeth, because if you have a post and it's not placed under a rubber dam, you can recontaminate the root canal at the time of post placement. So this is that basically, and this is a kind of website, as you can see as we come down here. Root canals are breeding grounds for bacterial toxins. Well, At the same time, take a look over here on the right side. You can see this genius pill unlocks 92% of your brain's potential. That sounds enticing. In fact, I'm really interested in clicking on that, because who doesn't want to be a genius, right? Who doesn't want to have 92% of their brain's potential unleashed? Everybody wants to be Bradley Cooper in that movie. Let's click on it and see where it takes us in a second. But let's come down here and see here another claim: how dental practices can alter your DNA and promote disease. So I think as dentists, we're now genetic engineers as well, and we're capable of splicing DNA and changing it through our restorations. What kind of diseases are associated with root canals? And it goes on to basically say liver function, kidney, breast cancer, all kinds of alarming stuff. Well, what can I tell you? You come down here, you have, right next to the root canals, you have this military-grade flashlight being banned. And of course, we now arrive at the quackiest of them all, Dr. Mercola here, who is, propagating his little myth of shocking connection. 97% of all terminal patients with cancer have previously had root canals, which basically is the typical type of correlation causation fallacy, because you could as easily argue that 99% of such patients have had leafy greens or vegetables, and therefore that is the cause of the problem. Or that 99% have brushed their teeth, and therefore brushing is the cause of their cancer and all kinds of problems. So these correlation causations that come primarily from associating one thing with another thing just because it's present has been clearly shown to be invalid without accounting for all the confounding factors. But, it's easy clickbait, and when you propagate something like this, people are going to click and share, and that creates confusion in the market. And here we have some more disgusting pictures here. And, obviously here they're asking to donate to the website. But let's go to Dr. Mercola's website here. We go to Mercola.com here, and it takes us immediately to another set of health-related news. And you know what it is? Some of the stuff ends up being common sense things, and then they put in, mixed with common sense advice, such as, eat healthy and exercise, other information that is far more far-fetched and is basically pure theories, such as these issues of root canal related stuff. But let's take a look at the shop area. So Dr. Mercola, all of these associations and all these news are supposed to be clickbait to get you to the website here, so you can take a look at all of these products that they're selling. Look at this. There's a ton of products here. We got ourselves a 4-pack of protein here for $156. And, or even, look at that, my favorite of all time here, a Muse headband. You can have a single headband here. Hopefully it'll going to increase your Muse capabilities for a mere $249. So they figure if you're gullible enough to collect bait on any of these products or any of these news things that they're sharing with you, or any of these clickbaits, that you would most likely also be willing to pay $250 to get a Muse headband. So this is basically the scam involved as a behind the scene background of these types of malicious advertising for health. Or take a look back, let's go back here to our favorite little pill that I'm definitely interested in buying because I want to be a genius. So let's take a look and see what we have here. And okay, here we have this website now, and of course Stephen Hawking predicts that this pill will change humanity. That I love Stephen Hawking, so therefore I'm going to buy this pill for sure, because I want to be changed along with the humanity. Although I probably could be changed if I did some fillings on myself, because we all know now that dentists can genetically alter our DNA. So the Harvard study shows that brain is being boosted by the smart drug. So I'm going to have to obviously look that up, because I'm very dubious about any Harvard study that shows this specific drug. So we have a little picture of Anderson Cooper and a little Photoshop picture of obviously the Illuminati thing with the conspiracy theorists here in the background, the pill, and Stephen Hawking's, which I'm sure has no idea his picture is being used for these types of advertising. So we have now Denzel reveals that he's taking this clear pill. Of course, Denzel Washington, that's probably why he won the Oscars. And of course we have our, Bradley Cooper over here. And you know, he's sharing his opinion about this because he did that movie Limitless, I guess that's what it was called. And Bradley Cooper, the expert pharmacologist, is also sharing his opinions about this particular drug here. And of course, we have the quackiest of the quacks on the network TV, Dr. Oz here, who's also sharing this, saying obviously avoid Adderall with this safe alternative. Of course, Adderall is being an amphetamine, so you would assume if this is an alternative, this would be an amphetamine as well, or if it's not an amphetamine, then it's basically nothing. So I'd be curious to see what kind of studies Dr. Oz is promoting, but you know, he hardly ever needs any studies. And I guess here is this one guy who's taken this stuff, and in 14 days, he has become, I think, a genius here. And after 14 days, not a lot had all my doubts and skepticism absolutely vanished after 14 days. Okay, so things have annoyed me, were no longer an issue. Terrific, that's awesome. And we come down here, and look at that. So this is stuff for sale here. You can get your bottle today. And there's a discount available here too. There's a 55% off discount for this pill that is apparently going to make you a genius. I'm surprised that they're not selling this at a premium, but they're actually having a 55% discount. I mean, you know, I don't know if you guys are feeling the sarcasm in my voice or not, but either way. So look at this. There's a bunch of comments here, and all these guys, verified real people that... Look at that, all of them, not a single person has anything negative to say about this pill. Of course, they're all plants, because I put in a little comment in here and it never showed up over here. So, you know, that's just the kind of thing we're dealing with. Let's go back to our famous failed root canal here. And I think it's really incumbent upon us. I don't know how we're going to explain to patients that this thing is so far-fetched and so far from reality, that how are you going to, in the limited amount of time that you have with your patient, to explain to them that the whole thing is a scam and it's basically driven by these people that are already selling you stuff on the side. I mean, the only way I say it is, frankly, my personal experience. I've had a few root canals myself that are still in my mouth. They've been done 30 years ago. And I say, if I didn't believe in this particular procedure, I wouldn't have done it in myself and in my family members and so on. And I think that is probably the example of, you know, standing up for what you do yourself is probably good enough for most people. But you also run into a group of people that are just such high level of conspiracy theorists that there's nothing you can say. And in fact, I've run into some of those people and I say, listen, if you don't want to save your tooth, just pull it. It's not my tooth, obviously. It is yours, and, you know, just know that the alternative, which is the implant, is not going to be completely sterile unless you want to walk around without any teeth for the rest of your life, by having each one of your teeth removed as a result of these little infections that could occur due to, you know, not brushing and flossing properly. Then that's your prerogative. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to share with you. Okay, as you saw, endodontic therapy does not work when it's not done properly and it's not followed through properly, and a poor restoration is placed that could cause decay. That has nothing to do with endodontic therapy. It has to do with a lack of follow-up and properly a poor restoration that followed after the endodontic therapy. But one of the other things that came to my mind was, as I had done that little video vlog that I shared with you a little earlier on the plane, when I arrived to Bermuda, I checked online and I had received a little message from someone from a previous video that I had done titled, "How You Can Improve Your Success Rate with Some Simple Basic Concepts." And the concepts that I had talked about were pretty much asepsis, which is a really important concept for achieving proper success in endodontic therapy. Surprisingly, one of the comments that I had just received on that video was that, you know, obviously in some places around the world we cannot get a rubber dam, and that is a problem. So they said that they appreciated the content in the video, but they didn't have access to a rubber dam, and therefore, you know, maybe it wasn't so practical. So without this sounding too much like a rant, I just wanted to go over this idea here that somehow, because you don't have access to a rubber dam, therefore it's legitimate to say that you're not going to use a rubber dam. It is almost as though saying that, well, because we don't have access to a scalpel to do proper surgery, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a butcher's knife.
to get into, into the surgical site. It just doesn't work. The idea of endodontic therapy, if it's done properly and correctly, requires the need for the application of a rubber dam. And as long as we don't use a rubber dam, we should expect to have poorer results. And this has been demonstrated throughout the literature in many different ways, just for regular endodontic therapy. And most recently, something that I shared a little bit earlier with you guys a couple of years ago, about even posts that have been placed without the use of a rubber dam versus posts that have been placed with a rubber dam. Posts that have been placed with a rubber dam had the same success rate as a regular root canal, but if a post was placed without a rubber dam, the success rate dropped down to 75%. So if a quarter of cases are failing when you're placing a post without a rubber dam because you're not placing a rubber dam, then it is incumbent upon us to understand that it is important to use a rubber dam, and that the fact that a rubber dam is not available is just not a good enough excuse. Now, I can understand if somebody came and said, listen, I don't have access to these very expensive night eye instruments, microscopes, and all those stuff, and I'm going to use something else instead. That's understandable. But a rubber dam, I mean, that is the least expensive component of endodontic therapy. That and bleach, right? So it is absolutely necessary that we use a rubber dam. And if you are in a place that for whatever reason you don't have access to a rubber dam because of your dealers or whatever, that's more of a reason for you to maybe become a little bit more entrepreneurial and really develop and fabricate your own rubber dam and to sell it to everybody else. The fact that you don't have access to a rubber dam should never be an excuse for not using a rubber dam while doing endodontic therapy. I just want to say that the use of a rubber dam, the implementation of a septic protocol, is mandatory for doing successful endodontic therapy. And it is exactly these types of things that lead to people who are using this, this anecdotal evidence with poor root canal therapy outcomes to come out and say root canals don't work, when some of us are really not understanding the foundations of success for endodontic therapy. You know, instead of investing in a microscope, in a ton of night eye instruments and all kinds of bells and whistles, the basic concept of achieving asepsis, removing all the bacteria and biofilm from inside the tooth and obturating it aseptically, is something that can only be done with a rubber dam and with understanding of the contamination and cross-contamination sources in endodontic therapy. So, okay, sorry, it's getting too long here. I didn't want this to be a rant, but this comment really it got under my skin because it kind of made it seem as though everything that I've been trying to say here did not really come across in a meaningful way. Anyway, coming to you here from Elbow Beach, Bermuda. Just wanted to share with you this little vlog, and we'll catch you soon again.